Well, it's 10:32 now. We're up to, 26 participants. So what I'd like to do is just take a couple of minutes and everyone just kind of introduce themselves very briefly. So let's start with you, Randy. If you'll just introduce yourself real quick.
Good morning, Randy Boys with Encore Electric Delivery. Encore has a fleet of dominantly work vehicles. We're the people with the wires who bring electricity back and forth between the wholesalers and your houses and businesses for about 11 million Texans. I am not with the transportation group. I'm with our strategy and technology group, but I work very closely with transportation. So we're working on both our own fleet electrification, only being a few hundred of the sedan class vehicles, but then many thousands of the truck type vehicles. And then obviously we're also working with folks like yourselves who are out there looking at if you have to change anything in your electrical infrastructure as you install the electric fleets at your locations.
Okay, and I'm Amy Hodges. I work for the Council of Governments, and I'm also with the Dallas-Fort Worth Clean Cities staff, and I'm on Lori Clark's team. Okay, so next person, Francis.
Yes, my name is Francis Mascarenas. I'm the Internal Services Manager here at City of Louisville. I manage city fleet and facilities for the entire city.
Thank you. Lori Clark is our Dallas-Fort Worth Clean Cities Coordinator and Program Manager in Air Quality. Oh, she's back. Okay, we're just introducing ourselves. Lori, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Nope, you've got it. I think most people know me. At least I recognize most names, so it's good to see everybody. Thank y'all for taking time to join us this morning.
Great. Okay, next person, S. Clark.
Yes, this is Sam Clark. Can you all hear me? I need to test my mic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, great. Sam Clark, I'm with Dallas area rapid transit, and I serve as manager of maintenance training, interim manager of maintenance training.
Okay, Rebecca. Rebecca, your audio is kind of messed up, so we weren't really able to understand you. But I'll tell the group who you are. So we have Rebecca Hallmark from Garner ISD. Rebecca is the superintendent there at Garner, and also is very involved in everything there in the Independent School District. We worked with Rebecca on getting grant funding for 3 new school buses. Okay, Vincent.
My name is Vincent Olson. I'm the fleet manager for the city of Dallas, 5 service centers, and that's about it.
Okay, thanks. Dwayne.
Dwayne Bianca, City of Charlton, Director of Fleet Facilities.
Then we have Mr. Barry. L.A. Barry. Okay, Jared.
Hi, I'm Jared Wright. I work with North Central Texas Council of Governments and Amy's team under Lori Clark. Yeah.
Savannah.
Hi guys, I'm Savannah Nance. I also work at North Central Texas Council of Governments under Amy Hodges.
And Aaron.
Hello, I'm Aaron Hayes, work with the City of Irving. I'm the senior service writer.
Morning, Clint. Okay, Ellie? Okay, then we have Mantella. I'm not hearing any audio from these folks. Okay, then White. So we were introductions. So
I don't know if we're all supposed to introduce ourselves. I came on a minute late to the meeting because I had another meeting before. I'm Diane Beck with SPAN, so I don't know if we were all supposed to introduce ourselves or just COG or.
hi, Diane. Yes, we were going around introducing ourselves. So thank you for that.
I'm from SPAN. I'm the new mobility manager, took over for Laura Joy, Amy. So thank you.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Thank you for having us, having this roundtable.
Great, great. So next person, Bob White.
Amy, I'm sorry, I was muted earlier. LD Barry, City of Carrollton Fleet and Facility Services.
Oh, great. Welcome.
Thank you, Amy.
And then Garrett Rosser.
Good morning, Garrett Rosser with Dallas College. I'm in the energy manager position. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Terry.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Terry Caters, Fleet Superintendent for City of Denton.
And then Jeff. Jeff Bond. Okay, if you're talking, Jeff, we can't hear you. We'll just go on. There's an entry called 1001179. I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, that's Brad Holland, City of Denton Fleet Services. I do the vehicle procurement and fuel for us.
Oh, great, welcome. And then Darrell.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Darrell Spencer with DART. I'm the Senior Assistant Vice President of Engineering. At DART, we have 681 buses, and 674 of those are CNG powered. And we have another 7 battery electric buses in our fleet. Thank you. Did everyone hear me? I'm sorry if my audio was muted. Amy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? My power is trying to come back on at my house, so it's kind of hiccuping.
Okay. Do I need to reintroduce myself, or did everyone already?
I heard you, Darrell.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. And I see Melody's on.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Melody Champagne. I'm with the City of Arlington's Asset Management Group.
Then let's see. I see Michael Light.
Yes, Michael Light. I'm here with Johnny Burkett. Johnny Burkett is our procurement specialist for the City of Garland. He buys all our vehicles. And Michael Light, I'm the financial analyst person.
And I see Dave's there. Dave Treichler.
Yeah, Dave Treichler with Encore Electric Delivery.
Alvin?
Yes, I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Alvin Blasendar.
And Mr. Hurt?
Yes, good morning, everyone. This is Marvin Hurd from DART, Dallas Area Rapid Transit. I am the Director of Fleet Engineering and report Darrell Spencer.
Anyone else that we haven't heard from? Go ahead and speak up.
Hi, Amy. This is Jeff Bond, Fleet Manager at the North Texas Municipal Water District.
Hey, Jeff. Anyone else?
Mike Ellis. Mike Ellis, the City of Plano, Fleet Manager.
Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
This is Fabrice Cabona with the City of Lancaster.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi. This is Al Mantell with the City of Arlington Fleet Manager.
Hi, Al. Have we captured everyone? Okay. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us for this roundtable. We really like to do these roundtables, you know, just to have peer-to-peer discussion. So we're going to, as COG staff and Clean Cities staff, we're going to facilitate, you know, discussion if as needed, but we're hoping there will be a really nice question answer exchange discussion amongst yourselves. Next slide. So we've invited 3 of our fleets, Louisville, Carrollton, and Encore, to be panelists and discuss a little bit about electrification in their fleets, and you know, being a little bit more experienced, having gone through the EV deployment. We're hoping that they will help, you know, answer some of your questions, address concerns, etc. So next slide. So first, we'd like to have Francis speak a few minutes about what's going on with the City of Louisville in the EV deployment realm. But we have a video that Francis sent us. So Jared, can you play that video, please?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Cities are our future. According to the United Nations, by 2050, nearly 70% of the world's population will live in one. Many cities are growing faster than the infrastructure that is needed to support them. Sustainability is the key. In Louisville, sustainability has been a driving force of many actions since 2014. In fact, sustainability is one of the 9 big moves that make up the Louisville 2025 Vision Plan. A sustainability audit recommended the city explore ways to use and invest in alternative energy, including solar, wind, bright white roofing, and electric and hybrid vehicles. In 2015, the city began buying electric vehicles. As of today, it has 10 electric vehicles, 9 Nissan Leafs, and 1 Chevy Bolt. These electric vehicles are used mainly by staff members whose job requires them to drive to various locations throughout the city on a daily basis. A Chevy Bolt can travel up to 150 miles with a fully charged battery, while a Nissan Leaf can travel up to 95 miles with a fully charged battery. A breakdown by department shows sanitarians have 4 Leaf vehicles, ECS, stormwater, water production, neighborhood services, police, and park rangers each have 1 electric vehicle. The park ranger has our Chevy Bolt. The city of Louisville has a total area of 42 square miles. To aid in the use of electric vehicles, the city has installed 6 charging stations in strategic areas. Most of those locations have a level 2 charger based on the vehicles assigned to that station. One location has a DC fast charger, which can charge a vehicle in approximately 4 hours. The benefits of an electric vehicle include reduced maintenance costs, financial savings on gas, and 0 emissions. Louisville has a total of 360 on-road vehicles. 33 vehicles make up our green fleet equipment count. In addition to the 10 electric vehicles, the city has 14 hybrid vehicles, 2 propane forklifts, and 7 propane mowers. In 2019, the city's fleet earned the Silver Level Recognition Award from DFW Clean Cities for its fuel-saving and pollution-reducing efforts. Louisville earned the Bronze Level Award in 2015, 2017, and 2018. The city's sustainability efforts extend beyond earth-friendly vehicles to all city facilities. Over the past several years, the city has installed more energy-efficient mechanical and lighting components, saving more than 1.7 million kilowatt hours of electricity. The city has also added LED retrofit lighting in city facilities and parking lots, replacing several outdated HVAC units, installed occupancy sensors, and upgraded the building automation system for maximum efficiency. All these changes and a few more helped the city earn the bronze level certification in the Souls Mark program in 2019. Louisville, driving into the sustainable future, one electric vehicle at a time, because we understand sustainability can change the perception of the community's character.
Hey, Amy, you're muted.
Thank you. Francis, would you like to add to that and discuss your fleet a little bit?
Yes, sure. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Francis Mascarenas. I'm the Internal Services Manager here at City of Louisville, and I do manage city fleet and facilities. First, let me briefly go over our success story, and if you have any questions, we'll address it at the end of this segment. You know, before 2015, City of Louisville did not have any electric or hybrid vehicles, nor we had any guiding policy or directives or vision to go green. So what we basically did was replace a vehicle with the same or bigger as justified by the departments. That's because we did not have a policy or directive in place to follow. In 2014, as part of Louisville 2025 Big Move initiative, city hired the auditors to conduct citywide audit of city facilities and fleet. The Louisville 2025 Big Move initiative, as you have seen in this earlier video, sustainability is considered as a top priority for the city. The final audit report recommended the city explore ways to invest in alternative energy, including solar, wind, white roofing, electric, and hybrid vehicles. In 2015, sustainability vision plan was approved by City Council. You know, to be successful in these goals, you have to have the support of City Management Office and Council behind you. At our city here, our council and city management were the biggest driving force behind this vision and goals. So make sure if you have the policy directive in place for your goals and visions. That will be a launching pad for your vision if you have for your city and for your organization. You know, you will be facing challenges going electric. This is what happened to us first year when some of the vehicles were ready to be replaced. We did approach all the departments, and what we heard is, not electric vehicles. These are small. There is no legroom, not enough storage space, and where do we charge them? You know, these are the questions everybody asked, and everybody said no. In the first year, we wanted to go electric. But these were kind of legitimate questions. And it is difficult for anyone to go with electric, unless they see or test drive a vehicle. So what we did is we contacted Nissan to see if they can loan us at least 2 electric vehicles for a test drive, which they agreed, and they gave us for 15 days 2 electric vehicles. And what we did was assign them to different departments for a few days. And after the 15 days, one department at least came back and said, we like to have 2 of these electric vehicles instead of the F-150 Fords. Normally we keep Ford in stock, but then as they approved, we got 2 electric. That was the beginning of our vision going green. So Nissan also provided us kind of, 1 charger for every 2 vehicles we purchased. They also gave us a free DC fast charger. As city drove these vehicles, stopped going around here and there, city staff got more interested in these vehicles. And as a result, we currently have 10 fully electric vehicles. After having these 10 EVs in fleet and see the performance of these vehicles, we would like to invest more in electric and hybrid as our fleet, becomes eligible for replacement. Currently, our green fleet count is like, as you heard in the video, we have around hybrids, 14 of them. All of them are used by police. We have 10 electric vehicles. We have 2 propane mowers. We have propane forklifts. We have 1 DC fast charger, and we got 6 level 2 chargers. We also, what we did was replaced at least 27 F-150 truck 6-cylinder with 4-cylinder trucks. So there's a big fuel savings from the changeover. Our total fleet is around 360 on-road vehicles. Out of 360, we have 10 electric. Out of 10 electric, we got 9 Nissan Leaf, and recently we bought 1 Chevy Bolt. Chevy Bolt has 259 miles for full charge, where Nissan Leaf gives you around 150 miles per full charge. So older Nissan we had from 2016, those were just 90 miles for full charge. But the newer version of Nissan Leaf, they have improved batteries and gives you around 150 miles per charge. So the cost-wise, if you look at it, if you buy a Chevy Bolt with the 259 miles per range charge, it's around $32,000. Nissan Leaf, which gives you around 150 miles, is around $30,000. And then the F-150 truck, if you buy, it's around $29,000. So where we have assigned these electric vehicles is sanitarian inspectors. They have around 4 Nissan Leafs. We got ECS, they have 1. Stormwater and water protection each have 1. Neighborhood services got 1. Police got 1. And then park ranger, they have the latest one, Chevy Bolt. We have several charging stations spread around throughout the city. We put where the electric vehicles are assigned. They are basically at City Hall, our Keeley Operations Center, Police Department, Wastewater, Water, and 1 at the Parks Maintenance Building. So level 2 charges are kind of less than $500 and easy to install by any electrician. So what I've seen is, going electric, comparison with if I have F-150, our PM maintenance cost is like $585 per year, where Nissan Leaf costs us around $189. So if you have a F-150, cost of operation is costing 20 cents per mile, where Nissan Leaf costs us 2 cents per mile. So, if you want to charge an electric vehicle, 90 miles range costs you around less than $5, where if you have a F-150 truck, gas costs you for 90 miles is around $14. So the biggest benefits I have seen is maintenance workload reduced. They just come to the shop once a year for inspections. Big savings on gas, of course, zero emission. And 90% of the battery can be charged less than $5. So this is basically our story of Louisville. If you have any questions, if you need any help regarding EVs, how to set up, if you need any contact with the Nissan Leaf, I have all that information. You can reach out to Clean Cities or me. We'll try to help you as much as possible. That's all I have.
Thanks, Francis. So I should have said this before. So we're going to have the three panelists speak just for a few minutes, and then we're going to open it up for discussion. So next slide, Jared. So now we'll have Dwayne Bianco speak a little bit about City of Carrollton.
Great, thanks for having me follow that. Now, we're relatively new in the EV world. I've been we started off last year buying 5 electric vehicles and electric bullets. And
Dwayne, your audio is a little bit fuzzy.
yeah, it's telling me I have a weak internet connection here.
Actually, it sounds a little better now.
Okay, so it may fade in or fade out. I apologize for that. We started out last year looking into EV vehicles, and we bought 5 bolts. And I thought the trouble we would have would be acceptance of these vehicles. So we sent the biggest guy at Public Works out to test drive one. And he came back and he goes, hey, there's plenty of room. This guy was 6'6" and about 400. He goes, plenty of room, drove great. And so we ordered them for environmental services and public works. They went over smashingly. So we added 5 more this last year. We have several Escape hybrid vehicles. And we're working towards, I believe this year I have 3 in the budget to purchase this year. So that's kind of where we're at as a city. I don't have as extensive a presentation, but we are running into some of those new adopter challenges. We're working through them. Encore's been great with us. And we're actually looking at putting in 3 new charging stations at City Hall that will be available for public use during the day.
Great, thank you. Next slide, Jared. So now we'll have Randy Boyce speak on Encore.
And we have our fleet is, close to 3,000 vehicles, but very few of those are the sedan class vehicles that the current electric vehicles support out there. But we are working in both domains. So we've got maybe about a dozen each of the all battery electrics, as well as then the hybrid plug-in electrics. You see one of them there, actually same photo as the one behind me. But then we are also working towards other possible platform types, and the COG and Clean Cities groups have had a number of workshops that have described things like the waste vehicles that are now all electric. DART had mentioned that they've got their all electric buses. So it is increasingly becoming a not just the vehicle class option. Down in the bottom right of that photo is one of our 53-foot boom trucks. Now that one is only an electric payload, but since that class of vehicles is typically out there idling, doing work with the power takeoff, the boom, et cetera, I think it's on the order of 65% of the time. The emissions profile of vehicles, diesel vehicles, is much, much worse, 20 times worse when they're idling So the fact that we can turn the vehicle off and run from a battery that runs the rest of the power takeoff payload is 80+% of our NOx emissions reductions. I'm going to underscore two things that Francis said on his briefing. One is as you develop, as you look to go to the fleet perspective, you are having to work with each of your different departments. Rarely can transportation just, flip a switch and say, and it will be so. And it's, establishing policy helps. Last year, for example, we set a policy that said for each class of vehicles, you will consider electric first, hybrid second, and internal combustion third. And we actually made it to where if there is an available vehicle for that class of operations in either of the first two categories, but you try to push it all the way to the combustion, requires a VP's sign off. So, we don't tell any department manager, you can't do exactly what your use case says that you need to do and whatever your feelings about the topics are, but we just sort of nudge people into that position as well. So, even from a city perspective, are there things that you can do for recommending versus requiring, even going so far as, when you're doing a new building or plant or area construction, you may not have EVs today, but you might want to go ahead and build your infrastructure as a make ready for that time rather than having to come back and pull up the concrete and get Encore involved in rerunning circuitry around, et cetera. So one is what Francis mentioned about ways to incent people. And then the other is, how you charge, and maybe it's not clear to everybody. The video that we saw from Francis was a few years dated, and that's going to happen in this domain. Every year the technology is different. The Leaf now is a 240-mile vehicle. I will mention that I'm a personal Leaf fan. Those recognize that charging vehicles is different by model, by charging type. The incentives that are available, the Chevys and the Teslas, for example, cannot get that $7,500 federal discount, nor can the Teslas get the $2,500 discount that the state of Texas will give you for your fleet vehicles as well. But for the Leaf, for the new Kona, which does have their small, the Kia SUV class platform, more of them that we're going to be seeing coming out there, that's $10,000 between just the federal and the state rebates right off the top, which you add that to then the decreased cost of ownership by both fuel and the O&M. We heard about the 2 cents per mile on the Bolts and the Leafs. I mean, basically that's just tires. We've had 6 of those going back as far as 2011, and we just don't do maintenance on them. It doesn't require it. Some other things I'll mention quickly is, so again, like was mentioned by Dwayne, trying to get your user buy-in, do drive-in rides, bring, believe me, you talk to the vehicle OEMs, they will have vehicles on your doorstep tomorrow and support drive-in rides for however many people you want to do. We did build a little bit of the groundswell by incenting our employees as well, both with a purchase rebate from the company as well as with access to the company chargers. It's only on an as available basis, and believe me, that's why you see these things for free at hotels and whatever. On a level 2 charger, you can't take $1 worth of electricity out of that thing per evening. So, having those incentives for employees sort of gets it more into the norm for the company overall. Having plenty of charging stations, those really at the less than $500 plus the installation for a level 2 charger is barely a thought. So, put them everywhere somebody might want them. The level 2 charger, the DC fast chargers are pricier, but what we're seeing, and for example, the one that we saw there from Nissan, those are much lower than the type that you see from Electrify America or the Tesla superchargers along the highways. So these are 20 to 25 amp DC fast chargers, and they will take multiple hours to cap off a car, as opposed to the 40 minutes it might take along the highway on the larger ones. But those are now the price of what the level 2 chargers were when they first came out. And this stuff's going to change every year, but there's already cost parity in a lot of the classes. So waiting till next year is not really what you need to do in most cases. The last thing I'd mention is, again, I liked in Francis's that it talked about sustainability, and it wasn't just an issue of replacing the carbon from the gas with the lower carbon energy that comes off of the electric grid. They were talking about, what else the city is doing in solar programs. You can certainly get in programs where you can buy your energy at much lower cost and charge them overnight for some use cases. And there they are, charged every morning at a lower rate. There's lots of different ways to look at charging. And I will point out that that is something that a fleet manager really needs to think about. You need to have these cycling continuously, like the DART case might be, if they have routes that are longer range than the vehicles, or if you've got deliveries that are being made all day long in excess of the vehicle range. So, certainly feel free to reach out and ask Encore questions, or the OEMs. The OEMs, I was going to say go ask them questions, but I could probably send you to about 6 or 7 other places where you'll get better information. They're just not really up there yet. And the dealerships are not the same thing as their corporate groups. And so that's another part of the industry that needs to mature. That's my piece.
Thanks, Randy. Yes, we were very aware of the dealership lack of education. In fact, that's kind of an initiative we're working on. Next slide, Jared. So I just wanted to go over our survey results really quickly before we open it up for discussion. So we didn't have a lot of people answer the survey, but here are the results. So the question was, what type of electric vehicles are you most interested in? Conventional hybrids, plug-in hybrids, or battery electric. Majority of you are interested in pure battery electric. And then plug-in hybrids is second, kind of a distant second, and conventional distant third. Okay, next slide. And in this question, what are the most attractive elements of electric vehicles? And it was, mark every answer that's applicable. The majority of people said reducing emissions. And then after that was savings. I'm assuming fuel is part of those savings too, the maintenance savings, positive public relations, and meeting organization targets. Not sure what the other was, but so those are the results of our survey for your information. And then next slide, Jared. So these are some barriers and concerns that we took off of the surveys that were answered, as well as feedback we've gotten from prior meetings, feedback like from our last annual in-person Clean Cities meeting. So just a word about the recording of this session. We said on the first slide that it was not going to be recorded, and then we noticed that it is being recorded by default. So if anyone has an objection to this being recorded, let me know. I will turn that off before we start our discussion. Is anybody in objection to the session being recorded? I'll gladly turn it off. Okay. You can chat your answer as well. So Savannah and Jared, watch the chat for that and let me know if I should turn the recording off.
If I could, Amy, ask a follow-up question. If everybody's okay with this being recorded, is everybody also okay with the recording being posted to the website for everybody's future reference, and it would be a resource potentially for others that weren't able to make it? But again, that wasn't necessarily our plan. It was just kind of built in. So if you object, definitely chat as the answer, and we'll instruct our IT to delete the recording afterwards. But there could be value in having it posted if everybody's okay with that. So just consider and let us know.
This is Marvin Hurt from DART. Will you be sharing these slides with us? Will these slides be shared with us?
Sure. Yes, we'll gladly share the slides.
Thank you.
Okay, so here like I was saying, we documented some barriers and concerns from various fleets. So I don't want to read these to you or direct them to any particular panelist to answer or anything or to address. But what I'd like to do is open it up to the group to ask any question they want to ask of anyone. So feel free, you can just unmute yourself and just start speaking if you like.
Yes. Yes, this is Alvin Blakes from DART. I had a couple quick questions. I guess especially for Francis on the DC fast charger. Do you have any charger monitoring software where you're monitoring the amount of energy that the vehicles are taking? Did you install, or any of the other groups also? Do you have any monitoring software that you're studying right now for charger monitoring?
Okay, this is Francis. Let me respond to this. So far, we don't have any monitoring for electric charging. So we are working on that right now. So coming year or so, we should have some kind of monitoring for charging electric vehicle. Right now, we don't have.
Okay, and Francis, my follow-up question is on the mileage, the 259 miles for the Chevy Bolt. Have you validated that, or the 150 on the Nissans? Have you validated those and found those to be?
Yes, Nissan Leaf, we had this from 2016, and yes, they do have that mileage. Since the Chevy Bolt is just new, we got them kind of last month, so we'll be checking that as well.
And this is Randy Boyce from Encore. We have both the Leafs and the Bolts, and we've had our Bolts actually now for more than a couple of years, and the battery pack has not changed on those, although the battery pack in the Nissans did change last year, although it's an option, you can buy either. The Bolts that we have, and I think they're rated at 253 or something like that miles, we're routinely seeing 260 for most operations. Now, what's going to happen is, you can see a change depending on the amount of air conditioning or heating. You can see a change, over, I would say, 70 miles an hour. You're going to see a faster drain on those. But, going down to Austin still leaves you with enough to run around the city in a Bolt, no problem. The Leafs that we have, which were rated at 150, we're seeing routinely at 160. There is now a new battery package on that is a 240-mile battery package, and I wouldn't expect that you're not going to see that on there as well.
All right, thank you.
I have a question for Randy from Encore. This is Vince Olson with the City of Dallas. That chassis on the bucket truck picture, how long have you guys had that bucket truck out in the field?
We've had those for, it's at least 3 years. It could possibly be 4, and we are tickled pink with those. They are pricey, so we cannot just go out. I mean, that class of vehicle or smaller, down on a standard, 350, 450 class back-end bucket truck, a much smaller bucket, we have 1,500, let's just say, top of my head, maybe closer to 1,000 probably of that class of trucks. We cannot justify to our ratepayers to use those in all of those places yet, just because the cost is exorbitant. It's not even just a little bit more, it's exorbitant. You know, we've talked to the folks at the COG. There's always incentive programs that help offset some of those costs, and they're getting better though. That's the thing, is we're now to the point to where maybe for certain of those vehicles, we will indeed be able to go out and purchase them. Now, there are other costs, obviously, just like the electric vehicles, the sedan class. You are going to get a lot of other operational benefits. So, you know, not idling, you know, doesn't burn the diesel. It certainly doesn't run down the, you know, that's 65% of the engine time that would be off. And so therefore contribute to less, even though it's still a diesel power plant for transportation. So you've got both the operational and maintenance cost reductions that you can feather in there as well. And we're getting close to where we're going to be able to deploy more of those. I think the COG folks might be able to talk more to, or DART, in terms of, you know, really how close are you without significant incentives to be able to bring in a school bus, a transit bus, a trash vehicle, et cetera. They're certainly, for any city planner, those are only a couple of years away if they're not already there with incentives. And part of those incentives are, if you're trying to meet, you know, environmental goals, other city targets, you know, there are the other intangibles.
We have the quotes for the sanitation trucks and the bucket trucks as well. Is that a Line 8? Is that, well, you said that's still a diesel chassis that you're working with?
That was actually an international. Well, we have the Alltech package. Actually, I take it back. We have them on some international, and starts with a C. I forget the name of the other manufacturer. But Alltech is the group that you'll want to look at, because they're building and working with the vehicle manufacturers to do those hybrid back ends.
The Line 8 group, which is a Canadian group, seems to have their own back end electric as well. So it was a fully electric vehicle. I hadn't seen those, nor do I have any endorsements on them, or is there any white papers or anything on this stuff yet? So,
you know, our service people love them because they're infinitely controllable. They're always powered. They're quiet. They can talk. The ground crew can talk to the folks up in the bucket, no problem. Obviously, the neighbors who you're parked next to while you're doing your work are happy with it as well. And they're, you know, those really only get charged a couple of times a week and are just fully operational the whole time.
it was interesting on the sanitation side, the body that they had in the sanitation box does away with hydraulics. So everything is run through electric. So, and that's, you know, probably our biggest nemesis in the field is hoses and hydraulics and cylinders. So it's coming, it's close. So
I will say, I just wanted to then and just mention to y'all, if there are specific platforms or specific applications that y'all really want, you know, as a group of fleet managers, and this is part of why we structured the meeting this way. We were very deliberate in not posting a link to this meeting. You know, we emailed y'all. So we kind of controlled the attendance group a little bit that way. And so really happy with the mix of people that are here. And I think everybody represents an end user. I don't think we have any vendors in attendance today. If there are specific platforms and specific applications that y'all would like a webinar on, or some specific meeting or resources, let us know. You can chat that as well today, and then we can go and, you know, try to recruit presentations from those folks. And generally, if we invite a vendor, we try to get them to bring one of their existing customers so that you get the end user perspective along with the sales pitch. So just let us know what those specific topics are, and we'll do what we can to get that put together. And Randy mentioned incentives on those heavier trucks. We also are interested in working with y'all more in advance of big incentive programs opening, like the EPA Clean Diesel program and Department of Energy program that can fund electrification and other efficiency type projects. So if there are specific things that y'all want to do that you really need financial assistance with, let us know those as well. And we can see if we can't work proactively with fleet managers to kind of scope something out before all of a sudden there's a 4-week turnaround on an application. So keep that in mind.
This is Marvin Hurd from DART. This question is for Randy. It's good seeing you again, Randy, and Francis. Could either of you or both provide to us here at DART? You make sure you have your email address. What's the algorithm or the indices or that you utilize to do your comparison between fossil fuel or gas and electric vehicles, because those are key areas that you have to sell to your board and sell to your leadership to show that this is a cost savings, advance of, okay, getting some and then obviously seeing it real time. And also, what are those formulas, those algorithms in terms of what you're doing now to continuously show the savings? Because, we're hearing 2 cents on the dollar and those types of things. And I think, Randy, you stated it's just replacement of tires and so forth. But what were those formulas or algorithms that you utilized? And we want to just, look at what you've done, compare it against what we're doing with our electric buses today to make sure we're in line. Because as we move forward with electric vehicles on our non-revenue vehicles like that, the various cars and so forth, we want to be able to put together that type of business case and sales pitch to the leadership that we need to move in this direction. I'll yield back.
Francis, do you want to take yours first?
Yeah, sure. So what we do here is we have a faster work order system where we capture all the data of gas truck or electric vehicle. All the information is in the system. And end of the year, when we pull that report, it does gives us how much did we spend on electric vehicle, how much did we spend on gas truck, what is the miles per hour cost. It gives you detailed report, and that's the report I normally use to convince our city management. Look, electric, zero emission, here is the cost, and gas, with emission, here is the cost. And when they see that, it's a yeah, go with electric. Fine with that. And all this within 5 years, we got at least 10 because of that data I was able to pull and show the management.
And for Encore, we probably, if you go back to 2011, we had not done that analysis. We just wanted to get some electric vehicles, get that experience under our belt. We both got some of the Chevy Volt hybrids as well as the Nissan Leafs, and we were just trying to figure out what that was about. Now, each time we make a vehicle purchase, it's a straight upfront total cost of ownership assessment. The trucks, on the other hand, well, the trucks are also then that cost of ownership, except for that's why we don't have 1,000 of them. We only have the half a dozen of them that we do have, because again, we were trying to get the experience with them, call it a pilot. We knew they were more expensive. In terms of the actual factors that we use in there, obviously we've got from our own Maximo Fleet database, we know exactly what the costs are on every class of vehicles that we use. Sure, we may not know this year's model, but we have all the data for both the fuel expenses, the maintenance expenses, everything that happens on that vehicle. So we have a good baseline for the vehicles that we're comparing the electric vehicles to. Obviously, it's not as solid on the new vehicle classes, and speaking to you from a DART perspective, I appreciate your helping drag the industry forward with your first pilots, the maintenance activities on those bleeding edge types of things. The first few years you'll go out there are not the types of numbers that we're using when you look at the sedan class vehicles. It's easy to do, obviously, the fuel cost comparisons. That's just an X and a Y. You know how much you buy electricity for. You can look at different types of if your charging profile allows it. There are programs that you can get into that'll greatly reduce your average cost of electricity to charge those from as well. And then obviously, if you've got anything on site that you can use that, solar power, wind, whatever as well. The maintenance costs, we've got enough of a track record. Like I said, those first 2011 Leafs that we got, the only things that have been replaced in those after 5 years were the 12-volt batteries, and in a couple of cases, the tires on those. The 12-volt battery, they're just like any other vehicle to run the service equipment, the lights, the this, that, and the other one, and as well as engage the larger battery when you turn it on. So none of those things, none of your accessories actually run off of the main transit battery. The one thing that I will say is if you go out to, for example, the NREL part of the Renewable Energy Lab part of the DOE, they have a number that, they've only estimated, I think it was a range of something like 25 to 30% savings for life cycle maintenance. And yet I was at a briefing with one of their directors earlier this year, and she said, well, we still think it's anecdotal, but the number's probably closer to 70 or 75%. And our experience has been it's even higher than that for the back to the sort of 2 cents to 20 cents comparisons that Francis shared. So penciling out the sedan class vehicles is, in my opinion, very straightforward. As you start looking at some of the newer vehicles, there's probably enough experience with some of the Lion and other of the refuse vehicles, et cetera, out on the West Coast that you could go to the folks at Puget Sound or elsewhere and maybe ask them to share, city to city, et cetera, some of the details they have. There is a limited amount of publication out there. Obviously, the potential is there. You've just got an order of magnitude less parts in the darn thing.
Randy, you mentioned that you're for every purchase, you're basically doing the total cost of ownership to make that purchase decision. Have you ever found that doing the total cost of ownership analysis led to not getting an electric vehicle?
No, the only reason that in our sedan class and light SUV, for those folks with the Escapes who just thought that they had to have one of those, but we kind of push them and say, no, look at these other vehicles. The only reason that they're not getting accepted on the turnover now is if somebody has a use case where their daily use and range is not supportive. Encore has territory all the way from this side of El Paso to Arkansas, and a lot of those vehicles are out and about in the middle of nowhere. And so there are still barriers, both even if you're where there are chargers, but you're driving that many miles a day, we're down to a place where it just doesn't fit the use case for the sedan class vehicles. If you're like any typical residential owner and you have 2 vehicles at your household and one of them is not electric, it is not because you didn't pencil out the use cost. Or no, it is because you didn't pencil out the use cost. It's something else.
Well, yeah, local governments probably don't have the range that Encore requires in some of their operations.
Exactly.
I want to ask a question to everybody. Nobody has brought this up, but I know it comes up in some of our meetings, and it's a question that we get from time to time when we're in conversations one-on-one with fleets, is the issue of training for maintenance staff. And what do I need to do to train my maintenance techs to do repairs? But what I think I'm hearing from y'all is that there is nothing to do. So I want to kind of truth that out a little bit, because I know that's a claim that we hear from OEMs a lot. There is no maintenance to do on an EV, so you don't need to worry about training your maintenance techs. So could y'all talk about that a little bit in terms of what you did to prepare your staff and what you've actually needed to draw on?
Okay, this is Francis. Only thing I say is the battery maintenance. I think the mechanics needs to be trained on how to maintain or do PM on the batteries once a year. So what we did initially was approached Nissan if they could train our mechanics, one or two, on battery inspection. So instead of taking the electric vehicle to Nissan, we can do it in our shop. And that's what we did. Other than that, there is nothing else to routinely just to check up PM. When they do the annual safety inspection, they go through all around the vehicle to make sure everything is good. But other than battery, I don't see anything to look at.
And that battery inspection, that annual inspection, is actually not in any way opening something up or energizing it and performing a test. It's only to comply with their warranty, which is a minimum of 8 years, and for some vehicles, lifetime. For a lot of them, it's also 10, depending on which class, which brand you buy. They require that annually you submit the data that shows how the vehicle has been used, and that's data that you can get off of the dashboard of the vehicle. So it's not as if it's some sort of invasive or energized test. And I was laughing when you asked what training we've done. About the only training we've done is with the people who are recording the telematics and the data in our databases to try to get them to where they're not telling me that I need to do oil changes at certain miles, and recognize that the way you structure the scheduled maintenance, the only scheduled maintenance is, you got brakes and tires at those tens of thousands of miles, and brakes also don't wear out as fast because of the regenerative braking. You can drive with one pedal and never touch the brakes unless you have to. It's really, it was changing the how you pull data off of the vehicle to put into the database, which was so different than what they were used to.
Yeah, that was a concern of ours going into this. I don't know if y'all we went to we have a maintenance company subcontract to. They researched it and they came back and go, we can't find that this is going to be any kind of problem. The maintenance on this is minimal. So we really like it.
One also thing that I'll mention is, you go out there and look at, the JD Powers, for example, rating on the vehicle maintainability. And, I think the Nissan Leaf is the #1 lowest cost sustainment cost by JD Powers, and Bolt is like not second, but right up there at the top of the list. These things are credible. The ones that are out there, I just like if you were going to go out and buy a combustion engine vehicle, you have to choose whether you're going to be buying one the first year it came out versus the second year. That's kind of a, what sort of risk do you want to take? But for those vehicles that have been out there a couple of years, the Bolts, the Leafs, et cetera, they're just they're a known commodity.
I'd like to add, we do have a fleet of Leafs ourselves that go back to 2011. And I can confirm that the cost per meter function is significantly low. However, when we compared it to the Focus and the Fusions, which were also fairly low, but the downtime and there's other components of this that that add up, and it was significant. So they were durable vehicles. The one thing that we ran into early is when in the public service side, when they had an option, especially when it talked about air conditioning or heating, when there was supplemental demands on the vehicle, for people were sometimes more likely to want to select. So if you're not watching utilization, or you don't have the operator buy-in up front to help kind of grow this thing, I think it's easy to let certain people trash it on you quietly, and I wasn't here for how it was deployed initially, but so I think that was pretty important, getting that into the right people, because there's some people that we have them in our motor pool. They'll come down and they'll take them very religiously, but they're always the people from the same groups. And you have people who deliberately ask for something else because the heat works better, because the AC works better. you know, all those type of things. But the car itself, I think was really lasted a long time, you know, but we ran into low utilization. So it's something you got to make sure if you're talking about a return on investment, you got to make sure you get your utilization out of it. If they're not using it, you're not going to get your return on investment.
I will underscore that one in a big way. And we saw that dichotomy both in terms of people's perception of them and the utilization back in 2011. So I'm back on are you the first year, you know, early adopter? We got the Leafs and we got the Volts. The Volts were used just like every other vehicle was. Those first year Leafs, they had 62 miles range, and that was only for the first year. There was actually a recall on that first year for some of the batteries that didn't even last that long. And so we are still fighting a lot of the perception from that first year vehicle on the Leaf side compared to this is kind of what I already expected from a vehicle on the Volt side, which was a hybrid and just, you know, fill with gas, and nobody'd even really know if it was on the battery or the gas except for those who were attentive to it. So I think you do bring up the point that obviously you're only going to get your return on investment if people are using it the way that they would have used another vehicle. But I think it's incumbent on the organization to somehow dynamically manage that, you know, to make sure that they're used. You know, we've considered, for example, a program where we might start rotating our vehicles around and just swipe somebody else's other vehicle and tell them, no, for the next week, your company vehicle is this one, because we have a lot of other vehicles out there with our area managers. And, you know, just I'll tell you, people get behind the wheels on those things and they are fun to drive. They do the job. Charging is, you know, not even a thought as long as it fits the use case that they're working. So you know, you do have to manage, though, that perception across your entire contact base.
This is Sam Clark with DART, and my name shows up at S. Clark. And I want to thank Lori for introducing the training piece, because that's primarily what I'm interested in, because I'm the maintenance trainer manager at DART. And so I'd like to pivot back to that just a little bit here. So, and I want to include just briefly operator training as well. So, and this is to maybe Randy and some of the folks at Carrollton. So when you initially got the vehicles and you introduce them to the end users and maybe to your technician, was there anything in place to say, hey, this is the electric vehicle, this is how you operate it, this is how we desire, this is the manufacturer's recommendation to maintain it, these are the parts that you're probably not used to. Was there anything structured like that? Did you have to prepare your technicians beforehand? Is there anything out there that can get a group of technicians comfortable with working with the electric vehicles and working with parts that they're, you know, not familiar with? Because even just the electronic components, where you mentioned about the telemetrics and those type of things, DART is a much bigger fleet, and so I'm just looking to see what's out there, what have you all done, and maybe what you can recommend to us.
So I can speak to that a little bit. Our first round of Chevy Bolts, we had nothing. We bought them, we got them ready to put out into the workforce. And realize these things.
Dwayne, I appreciate you trying to answer, but you're coming in very broken up, and I can barely understand you. I apologize.
I apologize for that.
I will, unfortunately, you'll be able to hear me, but I don't have a lot to say on the topic. In our sedan class platforms, we again, the only interactions that we've had with the people that are typically doing our fleet maintenance, the vehicles are not going back there for maintenance. It was mostly work on the telemetrics and data tracking side of things. Each individual owner, from an operator perspective, you know, I've even been in the position personally where people would, you know, I offered to people, hey, here are the tricks I've learned about, you know, using them, and here's why I only charge them, you know, to this amount, and here's the way I operate them that get me the best mileage. And frankly, they don't want to hear that. They're just using them as vehicles. And, you know, maybe if we were deploying, obviously, not just the onesie twosies that we're doing right now, I think you'd want to do that in a much more structured manner. But by and large, you know, the sedan class vehicles, we're not seeing that. I could look up, and I'm just not close enough to. I know that when we received the Alltech trucks, there was actually a couple of days work with the technicians from the provider. But I don't know if there's what the nature of exactly that training is, or whether it's required refresher training, et cetera.
Okay.
So this is Francis. What we do here at City is, you know, when a new vehicle arrives, it is received by our fleet shop, and the chief mechanic normally receives them. And then whatever training comes along with that delivery, you know, he goes through that. And then once everything is done, decals and everything is installed, we call the department who requested that, and we give them the basic training, what to do, what not to do, and things like that. So that way, you know, the mechanic knows first, and then we can transfer that same information to the end receiver.
Okay. Well, thank you for your feedback on that. And I guess this could be towards the larger group, because of DART, we deal with a, you know, we're going to have some high voltage situations, because that's where our buses come in. So is there anything out there, any programs that can help us prepare our technicians to interact with that level of voltage, other than what the manufacturer would, the OEMs would bring in and train? Does anybody know any programs, maybe at the colleges, the universities, or maybe even Encore, to help us get ready to put something in place? Because there are going to be some natural anxieties about you know, high voltage vehicles, and so we're looking for some help in that area to put together a kind of comprehensive program that would prepare our technicians and to keep them going as we get more vehicles, because as was stated earlier, we are heading in that direction. Within the next 3 to 5 years, we'll be mostly battery electric bus, and so I'm responsible with help getting our technicians up and ready.
So I'll take that. So I'm not aware of anything at the moment that is current. There are some training courses from the National Alternative Fuels Training Consortium, which is out of West Virginia University, but their electric vehicle materials are a little dated, and most of it is all based on in-person workshops, which they're not doing.
Right.
So we actually had been a team member with them on a grant proposal to the Department of Energy this past spring that unfortunately was not selected. But the purpose of that grant was going to be to update and modernize their electric vehicle training curriculum to reflect the latest and greatest technology, and also make it modular and web-based. Because, you know, not every technician can take 4 days out of the shop and go sit in a classroom somewhere, right? Like you may need to take it in smaller bites.
Right.
And the idea was to try to create a basic kind of a foundation of high voltage curriculum that then the OEMs would build on with their own proprietary whatevers, right? Because we know that they all want to do their own thing. And especially in the heavy duty world, like y'all are living in over at DART, it's going to be different. Proterra is going to operate different from BYD, is going to operate different from New Flyer, and we know that. So there is a desire to build that out. And the National Alternative Fuels Training Consortium, I think, is a good player to do that work. We've worked with them a lot. We'll be following up with them in the next month or two on some other ideas. So if there's specific training needs that y'all have, if you'll send those to us so that we can be armed with that information and those requests when we go into those meetings with them, that'll be helpful for us in identifying exactly how that can move forward. Also mentioned that, Francis mentioned that they got a loaner vehicle from Nissan, and those loaner vehicles are available from all sorts of OEMs. We've got connections with GM we can connect y'all to. We actually are working on scoping out a program that will enable us to invite all the vendor community to tell us what is all the stuff that you're willing to let people borrow for a couple weeks at a time. And then we will compile that and put it in a nice and simple list with contact information or email addresses or whatever. So y'all can easily run down the list and be like, I want to try that sedan, or I saw, on the barriers and concerns, one of the things there is on pickup trucks and vans. There's not a lot on the market right now, but there is an aftermarket upfit. Austin Energy and the city of Austin have quite a few in their fleet on the pickup truck side. Is one of those units available for demonstration? Or is that something that y'all would like a follow-up webinar on? We can make an arrangement with the city of Austin to try to have them talk about their experience with that. So I just throw that out there.
Okay, thank you, Lori.
Now, from an Encore perspective, we obviously, for our own, the both linemen, we have our own internal training programs. For us, everything below 500 volts is what we call low voltage, and there is an access safety program for that. So what I'm saying is, I will look into, and I will get back to you on whether possibly, not at the OEM level of how does this exact vehicle work, but you've got the issue at both the chargers,
right,
which for DART isn't necessarily just the DC fast charger or your run-of-the-mill level 2 charger, et cetera. You've also got the big, the Proterra articulated charging and many hundreds of volts, et cetera. We might, though, be able to share, because we do have a lot of web-based material, and I'm not making a promise. It's, there's all sorts of, they're not directed towards the right thing, and there's probably liability in there. And if my lawyers heard me right now, they'd be trying to strangle me. But it may be that just some general awareness training that says, here's where voltage exists, that on the charging unit as well as on the vehicle, when do you know that you're in a situation that, you should stop, get the right people who know what they're doing. So it may be that we can share something like that.
Well, that'll be helpful, Randy. If you can do that, that will be great. So do I need to reach out to you directly, or you can?
Nope. I know where you are. I can get back to you. I've got a little star next to it on my notes.
Okay, thank you.
I will flag one other resource related to Encore. So Randy, hopefully you're okay with this, but Encore has developed a form, its new electric vehicle construction management steps, to help facilitate kind of that initial coordination. If you're needing to do new charging, you want to involve the utility early and often, right? So I can chat a link to that form into the Zoom meeting, so everybody's got access to that. We can also send it as a follow-up.
Okay.
And let me point out that that's a place where I can take the stage for just a second. Getting electric vehicles doesn't necessarily mean that you have to involve your transmission and delivery company. Depending on how many of what type of chargers you're going to be putting in, if there's that much amperage left on the circuits that you have and the service is in the right place, it's between you and your electrician. Just like, I wouldn't call Encore because I, put the level 2 charger that's in my garage. I called the electrician, and $113 later, I had my level 2 charger connected in the wall. The place where you'll run into it, and maybe this is something to think about, is if you have to make infrastructure changes, you know, there needs to be more service to the site, or you want it separately metered, or you're going to be putting it in a different place than it needs to be, and you know, Oncor is looking at having to change transformers, et cetera. You know, there are places where Oncor is going to need to get involved, especially if you're looking at a larger fleet and you want a lot of DC fast charging. We worked with DART quite a bit before they brought those first 7 vehicles in. You know, those things do take some time. So you don't want to have your vehicle sitting there and then say, well, wait a minute, I got the vehicle, I got the charger. Why aren't the 2 of them connected?
Right.
Everyone, we have about 5 minutes left. So Jared, go to the next slide. I just wanted to spend just a couple of minutes on some grant funding before Zoom cuts us off. And also, just in case we get cut off, I want to make sure I've thanked everyone, especially our panelists, and everyone for participating in a really great discussion today. Okay, so TCEQ opened up another round of grant funding through the Texas Volkswagen settlement money. This latest round is for level 2 charging, zero emission vehicle supply equipment grants. Anyone can apply, individuals, governments, corporations, nonprofits, it's open to anyone. It is only for level 2 charging. Fast charging grant money will be opened up at a later time. You can get up to $2,500 per installation, not to exceed 70% of the cost if the charger is available to the public, and not to exceed up to 60% of the cost if the charger is available at a workplace or multi-unit dwelling. The level 2 charging equipment must meet certain requirements. It must meet ADA requirements. So it must be a dual mount pedestal, must have a charge connect height between certain inches above the ground. And if it utilizes, it must utilize open source software if you're going to require a payment. And then you must have that, the SAEJ 1772 connector. It is first come, first served. There's only 10.4 million available statewide. So we expect this money to go very quickly. Although the application deadline is a year from now. And then there's the URL there, texasvwfund.org. Okay, Jared, next slide. And then this is the light duty rebate program through TARP. It's open to everyone. And rebate program. So you must purchase the new vehicle and then you apply for the rebate. You do not have to scrap an old vehicle. You can get up to $2,500 for an electric vehicle. And then, and you can also purchase or lease. And then there's up to a $5,000 rebate for CNG or propane. There's money left on the table. There's 1,187 remaining grants available for electric. And it is first come, first served. And the deadline is coming up January 7th, 2021. And I believe those are all the slides we had. Oh, one more, Jared. We wanted to highlight a webinar that's coming up next week. This is put on by Louisiana Clean Fuels. And this is part 2 of a 2-part webinar series. So this is first steps for fleets interested in EVs. And the event website is there at the bottom of the slide. I believe we're putting it into the chat. So if you're interested in attending that webinar, we highly recommend it. We're actually going to be attending ourselves. So we just have 1 minute remaining. Thank you, everyone. Here's our contact information. We'll be sending out the slides and a follow-up survey for the event. And we really appreciate all your participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Dwayne, you were raising your hand. Were you wanting to ask a question or were you waving? Oh, just checking.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Bye now. Thank you.
Amy, do you want to stay on for like 2 seconds? I want
Yes.
to see if it gets us off or not. Hmm.
Were you able to do what you needed to do, Savannah?
I think she just wanted to see if it would force us off at 12, which doesn't
Yeah.
look like it did.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know was if it doesn't look like it's going to. Well, that's good to know.
I've been in events where it really does just chop you off. Maybe that was WebEx.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is I was wondering if that was WebEx.
Hmm.
I was trying to Google it and I couldn't get a straight answer out of Google. It was all like, well, do you have a paid subscription? And I was like, yes, but I don't know what our, and I chatted to Celia too, but I didn't get a response. Amy, do you want to glance at the DFW Clean Cities post-meeting survey? And if you're okay with it, I'll send it out.
Yes, let me
The
glance
new
at
one. Because I didn't think you had looked at it yet, so I didn't want to
Okay.
send it out.
Yeah, I'll look at that. Okay, I'm going to end it.
Okay, bye guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.